I want you to imagine that you're in a dirty, messy apartment, somewhere in a bustling city. And I want you to imagine that there is a comfortable bed or sofa in that very scruffy, dirty, messy apartment. I want you to imagine resting on that particular sofa or bed, sinking into what is clearly a comfortable piece of furniture. And I want you to, as you imagine breathing in that feeling of relaxation, as you breathe out, just sinking in to that piece of furniture, going deeper and deeper relaxed with each and every breath. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a warm, bright color. Perhaps a bright white light, an orange, a red, a blue, but a bright light that you can imagine breathing in through your nose. Imagine it filling your lungs, and as you breathe in that warm, bright light, just imagine it's filling your whole body with a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you breathe out, just imagine that something dark is leaving your body, perhaps a dark color, a shadowy color, representing any tension, stress, or anxiety that is going outwards in your out-breath. Breathing in relaxation and breathing out tension. And continue to just do that now, as you become aware of being in this scruffy, dirty apartment, knowing that in this particular imagination exercise, you are not where you want to be. But I want you to imagine, as you feel deeper and deeper relaxed, I want you to imagine that you're falling asleep on that piece of furniture right now. Imagine that you're drifting into a deep sleep. And let's count down. 5, getting deeper and deeper relaxed. 4, more and more, really relaxed now. 3, that's it. Feeling your eyelids getting so heavy. 2, getting deeper relaxed. And 1, feeling like you're going fast asleep. And I want you to imagine that you are asleep now. But the imagination within your dream enables you to leave your body so you can see that conscious version of you fast asleep there on that bed or sofa. And I want you to look around at this scruffy, dirty apartment and imagine to yourself thinking, who would live in a place like this? And you decide that you're going to leave this apartment. And leave you do. You close the door behind you. You walk down the staircase. And I want you to imagine as you open the front door that you are in a busy city. And I want you to imagine walking through that city, becoming aware of the noises, the people, everything around you. And I want you to imagine as you look at this city, it's very dull and dark and grey. You're walking down and through the city, and you get a sense of heaviness, a sense of bustle, of stress. And I want you to get a feeling that in this place, you are not living up to your full potential. And then what I'd like you to do is imagine that you're just crossing a road, walking past these strangers behind you, and then suddenly somebody calls your name. They call your name and you turn around and you make that expression that we all do when we're trying to work out who this person is. Where do we remember them from? And you don't recall exactly who it is, but then they introduce themselves of being an old friend, someone that you knew from many years ago. And then at that point, you do recall that you knew this person a long time ago, but that you haven't seen them in a long while. They look smart, they look well-dressed, they look like they're very successful. And they invite you to have a catch-up, perhaps over a drink, maybe in a bar or a cafe. And I want you to imagine thinking that this would be a good idea. I want you to imagine walking into that bar, that cafe, and I want you to sit opposite this old friend. And the old friend introduces that his role is as a consultant, working with different people, researchers, developers, and that recently he's been working in laboratory that has been working on a new type of medication, a type of medication called a nootropic. And this nootropic, effectively, as this friend of yours explains, basically says that you know how you only use 20% of your brain. There is medication, pills available that can enable you to access all of it. And I want you to notice as he passes you a transparent pill. Your initial instinct is to be suspicious, perhaps cautious, but he seems very confident that this can do something very, very useful for you. I want you to imagine taking the tablet, but not taking it straight away. You just put it in your pocket and continue walking through the city. I want you to get a feeling of curiosity of what it would be like if you could access 100% of your brain's power and ability. Just imagine what you could do. Just imagine the problems that you could solve if you had access to all these different resources. As you entertain the idea of tapping into more of your brain power, I want you to imagine continuing to walk down these streets. I want you to imagine that you're getting now closer to your own home, even if your own home is not in a city. I want you to imagine that you are at the front door of your home. But before you go in, I want you to imagine that you take the pill, you put it in your mouth, feeling the pill right at the very back of your throat. And then imagine swallowing. And as you imagine swallowing, I want you to imagine seeing the pill go down your throat, down your esophagus, into your stomach, almost like you're seeing your body as an X-ray. That's right. I want you to imagine that you're seeing your brain, again like some kind of an MRI scan. I want you to see those neural pathways, the cortex, the different parts of the brain. And then I want you to imagine that the pill is now activating. I want you to change that perception of that dull light that represents the brain, and I want you to imagine it suddenly electrifying, suddenly going very bright, seeing those neural pathways firing in all different directions. I want you to get an overall sense that your brain is now increasing its ability to work at its fullest potential. See the whole cortex, all the neural pathways light up, glowing. I want you to feel yourself inside your own body just before you go into your own home. And I want you to almost feel like your eyes are lighting up, that everything you see around you is starting to get brighter, clearer, with more clarity. I want you to imagine that it feels like a cloak, a weight has been lifted from you, and now you can see things as they are. You've lifted a veil over your entire life, and now you have clarity. Everything seems bigger, brighter, clearer. But before you decide to utilize this incredible power within your brain that you've unleashed, there is an intuitive craving just to get organized. I want you to imagine walking around wherever you live and seeing everything that is disorganized. Perhaps clutter, perhaps mess, but it may be that there are just piles of papers that haven't been sorted, things that you needed to have done but haven't done yet. And I want you to get an overall idea of how important it is to have clarity, organization, and preparation within this environment. Before you take on a new goal or anything else, I want you to work out what you would do inside your own home to get everything organized. What needs to be thrown away, what needs to be tidied, what needs to be sorted. And I want you to imagine that you're doing that now, except rather than just you doing it, I want you to imagine that there are 5 different versions of you all organising wherever you live at exactly the same time. These different versions of you are all doing different jobs, and it almost seems like you've got the ability to do things intuitively quickly. You don't have to think about anything, you just do those things. And because there's 5 different versions of you all doing the very same thing, your entire environment of where you live, and perhaps also imagine also doing the same thing wherever you work, everything becomes clutter-free, fully organized, preparing you to take on new goals, new challenges, new missions. I want you to go to a place either in your own home or your own work, perhaps a chair that's comfortable. And I want you to imagine sitting in that chair, contemplating. Because if it is true that you have the ability to use 100% of your brain's power, the obvious question is, what will you do with that unlimited intelligence? And I want you to think about what comes to mind first. Is it that you need to finish something that you've already started? Is it that with whatever your current responsibilities are, you can do them to a higher level? Are there any problems that you're currently facing that you need to solve? And it makes sense to use the power of this enhanced cognitive ability to solve those problems. And just imagine one problem that you're facing right now, and then become aware of that glowing brain with all those firing neural pathways, thinking, knowing that you have the ability to solve the problem, and just allow a whole selection of different scenarios and choices to play out in your mind's eye of all the different possible solutions to the problem that you've been facing recently or are currently facing right now. I want you to know that any and all problems have a solution. Someone else in the world has encountered either the same problem or a very similar problem and found a solution. And I want you to think of what problems you're facing that have already been solved by someone else, and what they would have done to be able to solve that problem. What actions did they take? What decisions did they make? What did they do to solve that problem? And just know that anything that anyone else has done, you also have the ability to do. I want you to start thinking now of not pre-existing responsibilities, tasks, jobs or chores. I want you to think of something much bigger. With this unlimited intelligence, this infinite capacity to achieve anything, the obvious question is, what new goals do you want to achieve? Or what goals perhaps have you set before, but they're never pursued? Now does it make sense to consider again? Create mini movies in your mind's eye and just entertain yourself with all the different things that you could take on. Not that you have to do, but that you could do. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? And it may be that some of these goals that you want to achieve require the ability to have skills that you don't currently possess. But then knowing that you have a brain with 100% capacity gives you the idea that you have a limitless ability to learn. So therefore, what skills do you wish to acquire? Not just be reasonably competent at, but perhaps be a master of those skills. What would you like to be exceptional at? What would you like to be one of the world's best at? Maybe it's a form of communication, maybe a new language that you'd like to learn, maybe a particular type of skill. maybe in the industry that you work in, there is a particular set of skills that if they were combined would mean that you were in the top 1 or 2% of everyone in your industry. Start thinking about what it would be like to be able to learn infinitely quickly. What it would take someone else to learn, you can learn at 1/10 of the time. And therefore, what would you choose to learn? I want you to also, as you sit there in that comfortable chair, now realize and evaluate that your interpersonal skills are now infinite. There is no limit to your ability to interact with other people to a much higher level. I want you to accept that you can be aware of non-verbal communication in a way that previously things would have been missed. Now your sensory acuity is at the highest level it could possibly be. You've got the ability to perceive, evaluate, and make sense of micro-expressions, body language, tonality, to read people, to know their intentions. Are they interested? You have the ability to pay much more attention to thinking noises. These unconscious prompts that people reveal all the time, like, These phrases, these thinking noises, you become much more aware of to enable you to influence people to a much higher level. So therefore, who would you like to influence? Who are the people in your life that you would like them to do the kind of things that you would want to do? Who would you like to reach out and connect with? What conflicts would you like to seek and establish some form of resolution? I also want you to accept that you have the mental capacity now to process huge amounts of information and to recognize patterns that most people wouldn't see or realize. Now that might be information in order to make complex decisions in different areas of your life. What books do you want to read so you can process certain information? What things do you want to analyze to be able to make fantastic decisions that could increase your wealth, your success, your accomplishments, your career? You also have limitless motivation. You can use your intuition to determine priorities, and you take whatever action is required to get things done. You don't need to write extensive lists. You just know. You know that you can't do 10 things at exactly the same time. So therefore, your infinite cognitive capabilities now instantly prioritize what's important over what's urgent. What will actually influence your ability to achieve what you set out to achieve. Things that align with your values, your purpose, the vision of yourself that you have in the future. Who do you want to become? And therefore, create an image now. Imagine that just taking a tablet a day of this thing means that you are limitless, that you can accomplish anything. And imagine that you have a limitless supply of this tablet that gives you limitless brain capacity. And with that in mind, who do you want to be? What would be the best possible version of you? What would be the pinnacle of your life story's success? Create that image now, a movie perhaps, of you maybe 5 or 10 years in the future with an unlimited ability to be motivated, to learn, and know that you might not succeed in everything, but with such an enhanced brain power, you've got the ability to learn from mistakes quickly, correct whatever is not quite there, and then take unlimited amounts of action in that new area in order for you to accomplish and achieve whatever is required. And therefore, your vision is not a possibility, but it's almost a premonition. You get to use the power of your mind to know that if you can perceive and visualize the future that you would want for your life, then you can make that happen. So make a movie right now of yourself, 5 or 10 years in the future, living your life at the optimal level. What would your career be? Your source of income? What would you be doing on a typical day? What would you do for fun and enjoyment? Who would be the key relationships or friendships in your life if you were at the level that is the highest level that it's possible to be? What would you do to entertain yourself? What new responsibilities would you set or challenges would you take on? And how would you make a difference to the wider world? Because with such infinite brain capacity, you could meet all of your own needs relatively quickly. And isn't it possible that when your own needs are met, you start thinking bigger about how can you help other people around you? Maybe friends and family members, maybe a wider community, maybe those that aren't able to do things for themselves, people that are vulnerable or in need in some way. With that unlimited motivation, the huge analysis and data processing power of your brain, with the ability to influence and have high-level interpersonal skills, an insane ability to learn whatever you need to very quickly, and with the processing power of unlimited intelligence, what would you want to achieve? And I want you to imagine now that you're now 10 years in the future. You've had 10 years of unlimited brain power. And I want you to imagine where you are now, 10 years in the future. What did you accomplish? What gave you the most feelings of joy and satisfaction and accomplishment? What are you most proud of? Who in your life is the most important person to you? How have you been able to influence your own life, but also the lives of those people that are around you and perhaps even a wider community? How did you make your money, your wealth? What is the biggest challenge that you took on and succeeded? I want you to entertain all these different ideas, but really imagine that you are 10 years in the future, 10 years of having this limitless brain capacity. And I want you to feel the resources that it took to get you there. Was it your intelligence? Or was it other qualities? Qualities perhaps such as persistence, determination, the ability to learn quickly from mistakes and take corrective action. Maybe it was courage, actually being willing to take risks in order to achieve those big rewards. Maybe it was a sense of compassion, understanding, empathy. I want you to really evaluate beyond the intelligence, what other qualities were required for you to get to this future that is so fulfilling, so many accomplishments have been achieved. But what were the real qualities that got you there? That's right. Consider them all and know that they already exist within you. I want you to realize that sometimes the people back at school with the best grades, in many times, didn't necessarily have the most successful lives. There are people that go to the very best universities that have IQ scores of 150 plus, that may lack some of the other essential qualities to enjoy a fulfilling life. I want you to realize that intelligence is just one variable that can contribute towards success, but often it's those other qualities that will encourage you to take action, to do what's necessary, to never give up, that relentless ability to always move forward, the resilience to pick yourself up after a setback or a failure, to learn. I want you to accept that outside of the intelligence, all of those other qualities still exist within you. There is unlimited potential as to what you can do. I also want you to appreciate that within a week, most people waste many, many hours within that week. So even if you didn't have the ability to access 100% of your brain's power, what if you could access 100% of your available time? I want you to think that this place where you are right now, the ability to activate 100% of your brain power is not the only way to get here. There are other qualities, other strategies, other approaches, the ability to learn from other people that have achieved similar goals, the ability to learn quickly from your own mistakes, the ability to identify tried and tested strategies that are widely known but maybe very rarely practiced. I want you to appreciate that having some kind of imaginary nootropic drug is not the only way that you can achieve whatever your dream life would be. That's right. And I want you to imagine going back into that chair in your own home or your own office and realizing that you now have clarity of a desirable future that is so appealing to you. As you get up out of that chair, I want you to imagine walking down into a street and then suddenly finding yourself in a bustly, busy, very intense neighborhood. I want you to imagine going through a door into a maybe distressed apartment, going up the staircase, going into a door, and then seeing someone that looks exactly like you, lying perhaps on a couch or a bed. And I want you to imagine climbing into that version of you, feeling yourself in your own body, and realizing that this is just a dream within a dream inspired by a movie, and that the resources required for you to live at a much higher level do not require an imaginary science fiction medication. They already exist within you. And the moment that you realize that you have the ability to pursue goals much, much bigger than maybe you thought you did, you will activate different parts of your brain that is just waiting for you to set a goal or a challenge big enough to activate what is necessary. Sometimes we are only able to see what we are capable of when we are tested very far outside of our comfort zone. And I want you, as you begin to wake up, to realize that all of these gigantic goals of what to learn, what to achieve, and what to accomplish do not require any form of medication whatsoever, and that all the resources required to achieve them already exist within you. And you will activate all of those resources at the point where I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. And when you are awake, all normal sensations will return to your arms and legs, and you will be fully alert in the moment with all resources activated and all parts working in harmony to enable you to achieve the ideal future for you, on your purpose, based on your values.